The various tools have arrived from StewMac to allow continuation of the refret on this 1983 G&L El Toro neck that had developed a ski jump. This has actually been unplayable for more than 25 years because of that. A ski jump keeps a permanent forward bow, and I just recently sent this down to warpneck.com in Texas. They have worked their magic and taken the ski jump out of it. So I pulled all the frets, and one of the issues is many of these fret slots are a bit too wide, probably because this bass has been refretted, I think twice. In any case, they're a little bit too wide and they don't hold where they should everywhere. So hence the fret tang crimper will allow me to make those tangs a little bit wider so they stay in the frets, and then that'll allow me to wick in some thin super glue later to get that going. So one of the things I'm going to need to do is I've made a little test device here. This is just a little piece of fret that I've kind of bent and made a little handle on so I can test each one, because what I don't want to do is crimp all of them, because then I may get into a compression situation. Sometimes this is something luthiers will want to do, to actually take out a little bit of front bow, because if all of the frets tangs are wider, then it's going to push all of the slots apart a little bit and bend the neck a little bit toward a back bow. Since this is pretty much ready to go as it is, I'm looking to avoid that and only want to crimp them as much as I need to get them to stay in. So I've got my frets cut and bent to slightly more than the radius. This is a 7.25 inch radius, so these have been bent to a slightly smaller radius, and I will be putting these in one at a time, which will allow me to do the test to make sure I only crimp it where I need to get these to stay in. Again, trying to avoid that compression and creating too much of an unnecessary back bow. So we're going to be doing testing with this little device on each fret slot here to see where I'm going to need to use the crimper to make the slots wider. Looks like the base side of this needs to be a little bit, and probably a tiny bit on the treble side too, the extreme treble side. So we're going to try this out. The way this works is it just clamps onto the fret tang and bends it slightly, just makes it makes it a little thicker in the process so that it will stay in place a little bit better. I can tap it in like I would with the normal fret job. Otherwise, they're loose, they're lifting. I could glue and clamp them, but that's really not the best idea, because it's fiddly. It's quite a pain, to be honest. So this is going to be a little more of a surefire thing, at least in theory. Okay, I've got the fret press set up now, have the different Cauls. Because of the way this neck was worked on, the radius is not perfectly 7.25 for the whole neck. So I've temporarily put the 6 in to make sure I get the ends pressed on the lowest one. First fret seems to have gone in okay. And then one of the potential issues with this neck is because I had it planed, had the fretboard planed so much back in the 80s, it's possible that the neck at that point in time had a little bit of a twist in it. Some of the thickness in the fretboard makes me think that might have been the case. It's a little thinner on the bass side here at the top than it is on the treble side. So the potential issue is that with warp neck, getting it back to where it's supposed to be, that may not account for, if there was a twist in it back then, that may not account for it. So it's possible that all this is going to be for naught or pretty close to that. It may not be able to be made playable. I doubt it. I don't think it's going to be that far out, but it is a possibility. Okay, so far so good here. The first 3 frets are in, doing pretty well. Doesn't look like that one needs crimping on both sides, maybe just one. So far I'm very impressed with the StewMac Fret Tang Crimper. Although if I'm honest, I'm pretty impressed with everything StewMac. Again, Erlewine has been a legendary luthier and guitar tech since before I was playing, so that was probably 50 years. So I think we're doing pretty well. Just kind of getting these tapped in, got the fret press out, and using the various Cauls. I've got the 6 and the 7.25. 7.25 is in it right now. And so I think we're moving along pretty well. This radius is definitely not perfect, but I would imagine on a bass neck that is this old, that's not completely uncommon. So sometimes the hammer has to be used in addition for more than just setting the edges of it. So now we're going to test the 5th fret slot. They're pretty much just loose on the sides. I haven't had to do anything across the center yet. And this one probably doesn't need much crimp on the bass side at all. So I'm kind of trying to modify that because, again, I don't want to get into the compression and increase too much into a back bow situation. You can probably see I'm not a big fan of keeping my shop completely spotless. I just feel like the shops I've been in that are spotless have always appeared to me like more time is spent cleaning than creating and building. Just my observation. So we have all the frets in. Had to do a little bit of crimping in a couple places in the center, but looks like I'm gonna get away without having to clamp anything. I can just wick some super glue in from the ends and possibly in the middle in a couple places. But so far so good, and we'll be next step is going to be, well, wicking in the glue, and then after that leveling and crowning the frets. So we hope for the best. See ya.